Okay, so we have a severe weather event we're expecting tonight. Little ways down the line here, the remnants or whatever may come our way from Elsa, and just persistent heat overall. It's been really hot, so a lot of demand on the grid there. PURA as a regulatory body, I mean, what are you guys doing just to monitor everything and to make sure that our utilities are prepared for what is about to come our way?
Great question. So PURA's role is increasingly to focus on what the utilities are doing in preparation for these storms, as opposed to historically regulatory bodies typically focus on what comes after the storm and judging whether actions were prudent and reasonable. So as part of our investigation into the tropical storm last August, we came up with a number of, like a whole list of activities and changes that both of the utilities should make to their emergency response plans. And actually, those changes were due to us on June 30th. And they're effective immediately in many cases. So we are beginning to review what the utilities filed with us last week, and we are also getting updates from the utilities in real time about their preparations for the weather events this week.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, and Governor Lamont did sign the utility bill, which enacted some reforms. So, I mean, what specifically, I guess, how are you able to monitor our utilities now that you weren't able to do just a year ago after Isaias?
Great. Okay, so the Take Back Our Grid legislation gave PURA a lot more teeth for what comes after the storm. We're not the utility company, which means that myself and my staff are not out there on the poles restoring power after the storm. We leave that to the very skilled and able line workers from the utilities. What we do is make sure that they prepare for the storm, and then we investigate them after the fact to make sure that we're holding the utilities accountable for how they spent ratepayer dollars. So the Take Back Our Grid legislation gave us some additional tools in our toolkit. For example, one of those is increase the amount that PURA can fine the utility for failure to abide by those emergency response plans. It also empowered us to create the compensation plans for customers that we announced last week, which provide customers compensation for spoiled food and medicine if their outages last more than 96 hours, as well as some daily outage credits. Another thing that legislation did was give us authority to transition into performance-based regulation. We've opened that docket and are beginning those inquiries immediately. Those take time, so we're not sitting on our hands while we're going through that investigation. Like I mentioned previously, we are holding the utilities to account to make sure that they're incorporating into their emergency response plans the changes that we saw needed to be made after the last tropical storm.
That's great. Marissa, do you have faith in our utility companies that they've made the proper adjustments and have learned the right lessons since Isaias?
It's a great question. Well, I'll say, I don't view the utilities as one and the same. They're two different entities. UI had a markedly better performance to last August's tropical storm to begin with. I think that we're seeing the necessary improvements there, and I have confidence that they are going to deliver on their enhanced emergency response plan. Eversource definitely had a lot more challenges in front of it. I think they bore the brunt of both our criticism as well as elected officials' criticism. We are reviewing the enhancements to their emergency response plans that we ordered. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where we'll have to see if they can deliver on the enhancements that we ordered. So we're definitely monitoring them closely.
Okay. Is there anything that you want consumers to know? Because I know the big concern is that typically, and we saw this after Isaias, there's a big storm, it costs the utility companies a lot of money to restore, and it just gets passed on down to the customers. Rates, seem to always go up. Connecticut having some of the highest electric rates in the country as it is. What do you want, consumers to know about their wallets?
Sure. The governor recruited me here from Maryland. I'm just past 2 years of my tenure, and I can say that we have not allowed the costs from the tropical storm last August to be passed into rates. Those have not been petitioned to us, and we have not granted them. So I want customers to understand that it costs money to restore power. It costs money to maintain the infrastructure that we rely on day in and day out. But since I've been appointed to PURA, I think that the agency is demonstrating a renewed commitment to scrutinizing all of the costs that come before us. And I just want consumers to know that that's happening. And we are going to be very transparent about the proceedings when the utilities do apply for cost recovery. An application does not guarantee recovery. Want customers to understand that.
Do you still have the moratorium on shutoffs in place?
We do for residential customers. Non-residential customers, the shutoff moratorium concluded on June 15th, but the moratorium for residential customers is in place right now.
Okay, and a last one for you. As the chairman, obviously you're focused on the here and the now, and what comes after this particular weather event. But I assume you're also looking, years down the road. Where do you see? What's your vision for Connecticut's utility grid? Where are we in 10 years? How is it modernized?
I love that question. That's actually why the governor recruited me here. I announced my vision for the equitable modern grid a little over 18 months ago. There are 11 different tracks that need to be completed, in my opinion, to modernize the grid. We are well underway there. We just announced a draft decision for energy storage programs for the state. We also have a draft decision out for electric vehicles, as well as several other decisions in that docket. In 10 years, I hope that customers in Connecticut are realizing the value of the money that they're putting into the grid, because the reality of the situation is electric infrastructure, we're going to have to increase our reliance on it. And there's an investment that comes with it. But I want customers to start realizing a return on that investment in a way that I don't think that they feel confident they're seeing right now.
And just a quick follow-up, you said increase our reliance on it, but we're seeing all these alternative renewable energies, solar, everything. So why would we be increasing our reliance on it?
Great question. So there are two ways to look at electric infrastructure, and under the equitable modern grid, I'm pushing us towards a decentralized electric grid where customers are becoming essentially their own nano grids, where they can have solar and storage. And those are part of the programs that we're standing up through the equitable modern grid. But at the same time, we have to recognize that that's not going to be a solution for everyone. So we need to make sure that the infrastructure is continuing to serve all Connecticut customers. And I think there will be some relief coming as we decentralize different aspects of that grid.